Ladies, come down here to the front. Let's speak for a moment. I was here yesterday. The girls came by. Harper's still a little bit afraid of me, and that's really good. I still turn to Avery and Addison and go boo every once in a while, and they can't scare them at all anymore. They're not afraid of me at all. Are you? You're not afraid I might bite you or get you, or I've lost that edge. But as long as she'll kind of look at me like she might run away, then I know I got her. Just two, though. Huh. In my morning messages, and understand you're going to be captive today. You're not going to children's church. You're going to have to listen to me preach. You evidently have been bad this week. You're being punished. I've been preaching about how to grow and how to feed ourselves. And the thing we're going to we have looked at in the past we've looked at feeding yourself with the Word of God, with the Bible. We had a Gideon come and speak to us. And so we feel that's good. That's a good snack, a good meal, good nourishment for anybody or everybody. Last week I talked about prayer. Don't think of a prayer, or he said a prayer, or this is a prayer. But think of prayer like breathing. We do it all the time. We can. It can be something where we're always in touch, always connected. God's always listening. He never says goodbye. I saw a blurb the other day. I don't even know if this will even connect with you, but these old people might enjoy it. It says, when you're doing biology, you can tell whether you're looking at an alligator or a crocodile. They're different, alligators and crocodiles. And the way you tell them apart is one of them you'll see after a while, and the other is you'll see them later. Did you get that? And that's how to tell the difference. God never says, see you later, alligator. God never says, after a while, crocodile. He's always connected. I slept through the tornado. But our internet went down last night, and I was up all night long worried. So it depends on what the catastrophe happens to be, whether I'm going to worry. I have a wife. It's her job to sit up all night long and worry about tornadoes. I just want to sleep. So I didn't know our lives were in danger. That doesn't mean we were being divinely protected. It's just that just wasn't our time to go. Prayer. The internet never goes down on prayer. I like where Nehemiah, when he says, the king asked him, well, what can I do for you? Well, I like that. What can I do for you? I was having a banking problem in Ardmore many years ago, and there was a little girl there, and she was in charge of all the accounting, and they had bounced some of my checks, and they were wrong. And finally, and I was being nice, but I was right at the edge. And finally I said, hon, and I knew that there was another building out in the back parking lot, and that's where the president of the bank, that's where his desk was. And I said, hon, I'm sorry, we're just not getting anywhere, and maybe I'm not making my case just right, and I'm certainly not convincing you or changing your mind. And I knew his name, and we were friends. We were actually neighbors, and I had been his mother's pastor, so I kind of felt like, all right, we're fixing to jack this up here. So I said, hon, I'd like to speak with the manager. She said, that's fine, okay. So they called back there, and sent him on back. You know who I was. I'm not usually a troublemaker, and I wasn't trying to make trouble then, but I went in and I said, Joe Mark, how you doing? He said, "Hi, come in and have a seat." And he wanted me to explain, so I took 2 or 3 minutes to explain why me and this little girl wasn't getting along with each other at the bank about my bounce checks. And he leaned back in his desk, and I don't think bank managers, Aunt Liz can probably tell you this, I don't think bank managers can do this anymore, but bank managers used to kind of rule the world. They used to be in charge of all the money and could do whatever they wanted to do in a different world. But Mr. Bank Manager, after I finished my little speech, my impassioned speech, I was just very animated and just 1, 2, 3, and I don't think he was really even listening. I don't think he cared what I was saying. He leaned back in his chair and he says, "What would it take to make you happy?" And I said, "Oh man, that is what I wanted to hear. That is what it would take." I said, "I want this, this, and this." He said, "All right, I'm going to do it. Come back again sometime." I just walked out the door. I knew he was going to take care of it for me. Now that kind of makes it sound like I was somebody, but I wasn't. It's that I knew somebody. It's like that old thief on the cross. They said, "What are you doing here?" And the thief on the cross said, when he got to heaven, he says, "The man on the middle cross said I could come." Today, I'm talking about singing, about music. Music and singing is another part of what God has given us to feed us, to nourish us, to build us up. Songs, singing. This is from a play, actually, that reproduced in France of a very famous American movie. MGM, the great movie theater, back in 1952, released a movie with Gene Kelly in it. That's not Gene Kelly. The name of the movie is called Singing in the Rain. Gene Kelly was a very masculine, kind of a manly man, and he was a great dancer. And, men would look at him and say, "Well, I thought dancing was for girls." Gene Kelly kind of made it look like football, like athletics, like gymnastics. He was magical. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Carter, I've got a video on the desktop there. Find that. We're going to play a clip of Singing in the Rain here in just a minute. Gene Kelly, Donald Connor, and Debbie Reynolds was in it. You probably never even heard any of those names. But it didn't receive very much acclaim in the box office. It wasn't well received, but it has become famous since then. And Singing in the Rain is a wonderful movie that is now viewed, and I believe is probably one of the greatest musical videos, one of the greatest musical movies of all time. This is the theme song. He's in love, and he's coming out, and he does the title song. Go ahead and play that, Carter. Crank up the volume just a little bit.
Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing in the rain.
Okay, mute the sound there, Carter, let it keep playing, but I think it's going to wrap up the Lenten service. I like a Jody Messina song, a modern song that says, "Bring on the rain." You know, Jesus said that God causes it to rain on the just and the unjust. And what that means was that when God sends down the rain falls on good people and bad people, or whom we would think are good people. When God sends the rain, everybody gets the rain. Now, let me tell you, when I first became a Christian, I didn't like it. When it was raining, we couldn't play ball. When it was raining, I couldn't go outside and play. When it was raining, a lot of things got canceled. And so when we had a parade, they would say, well, I didn't mean to rain on your parade. We think of rain as something, even the Carpenters sang a song called "Rainy Days and Mondays Always Get Me Down." Well, it's just like rain is a bad thing. But you know, you go talk to someone who farms and raises vegetables or crops. They love for it to rain. I've been in places in the world where it hardly ever rains, and it's very hot, very dry. And when it rains, they rejoice. They're so happy because rain is a wonderful thing. Rain makes the flowers grow and the grass, and rain refreshes and washes and cleanses everything. You know what Jesus was really saying? That God sends out wonderful goodness to the just and the unjust. Rain. You know, Jesus was teaching and preaching and living in a place where it doesn't rain very much, in the land of Israel. And so they knew what he was talking about. He was saying God is good to everybody. Now, we need to have a perspective. Sometimes in your life, it's going to look like there are clouds that's keeping the sun out, or something that you don't like, or something that you don't enjoy. You know what? You might be developing a list of things you don't like. Let me tell you something about things and people that you don't like. Your list, listen very carefully, your list of things you don't like will prevent you from being obedient to God. The list that you have, you may not write it down if it's in your heart or your mind. The list of things that you don't like will prevent you from being obedient to God. Because there are lots of things in your life that you're not going to like. And God's going to say, why don't you just obey me anyway? Why don't you do what you're supposed to do, and don't tell me you don't like this, or you don't like him, or you don't like her. If you're the kind of person that goes through life deciding what you like and you don't like, that's juvenile and petty. That's not the way Jesus taught us. And so, sometimes it's going to be raining. There's a famous book out, and I like it as a setting to it. Sometimes, it says when it rains, some people dance in the rain. Other people just get wet. Whatever's going on in your life, look to God for your joy and for your happiness. Learn to sing in the rain and in the clouds. Sing in the storm. Sing in the good times and the bad times. God is the author of all music. I gave Barbara some books of mine. I just sent them as a suggestion. It's the Singer Trilogy. And it's really a story about how God sang everything into existence. And God is the singer, not just the creator, but everything in the world is a song, a melody, an orchestration that God performed. And that is true. That is true. God is the singer. So I hope that you have lots of music in your life. If you're like Uncle Bud, you probably, every time I get in the car with him, I say, all right, let me listen to what you listen to. It's some of the god-awfulest mess you've ever heard in your whole life. But he loves me, and he knows me, and he knows what I want to hear, so he'll say, oh, well, that's what's most popular on my playlist right now. I say, okay, all right, it's yours. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. Now let's listen to some Beatles, and he puts the Beatles on. So he's a big Beatles fan too. I hope your life is filled with music and singing. All right? You don't have to be a good singer or a player or or a great musician to love God.